Hey art friends, and welcome back to the Mandakyns channel. Today we'll be making a Plague Doctor top hat for cosplay and Halloween. This build is actually a little longer and I've sped up many parts of it. Overall, 3 hours and 15 minutes is the total time that I filmed. Squashed a lot of content into a very short period of time. I do hope that you guys enjoy. So let's begin. We're going to trace and cut a pattern from craft paper. And you'll see here that I have my pieces. For the sides, you'll cut 2 pieces, and the top just 1. So next you'll pin your pattern to the foam and cut it out with a razor blade or an X-Acto knife. And here you see me pinning it to the EVA foam. You'll want to make sure that you place it appropriately for your pattern. I'm just demonstrating here, and I already have all my pieces cut out, as you will see in just a moment. This is what I would recommend to make sure that your piece does not slide around as you're slicing. Here are the finished pieces: the top, the 2 sides, and the brim. Set your craft template to the side. Make sure you wear gloves to protect your hands. So I'm just going to use this paint can opener to easily open this. You can also use a screwdriver if you don't have one. We're going to use contact cement. Both surfaces that we intend to connect, and a paintbrush. This one's already been used in contact cement before, and it's going to mess up your paintbrush, so make sure you use a brush you don't really care about. And here I'm applying it to seams of the EVA foam where I plan to connect. What you'll want to do is allow this to get tacky. It takes somewhere between 7 and 10 minutes, and I am using this dishwasher drying rack from an old dishwasher to place them in so that they don't touch anything else. I think my puppy is playing with the tripod. She makes an appearance here in a little while. You may want to do these one side at a time. I decided to go ahead and apply contact cement to all the surfaces. Go ahead and knock it out in one fell swoop to make it easy for you guys to see. However, again, if you don't want to accidentally tack something to something else, just make sure that contact cement doesn't come into contact with other contact cement. Now I'm applying it to the brim, and what you'll do is, after they've gotten tacky, you will begin to press the seams together. And I find that it's easy to tack both ends and then start to squeeze the middle together, but whatever works best for you. And I'll try to see if I can get the dimensions for the pattern that I created to make this top hat as a PDF and put it on Make and Me. If anyone is interested in the exact pattern that I used. So after putting together the top portion of the hat, or the stovepipe portion of the hat, I'd like to attach the brim, and you want to make sure that the front and the back are perfectly placed, and the sides you can attach as you go along. I found that the brim and the top were probably the most complicated portions. Contact cement is not as forgiving as maybe some other mediums to try to adhere with. Some people will use hot glue and apply it for about 5 inches and then press it together and then add more hot glue and repeat the process. So as you can see here, I have a little bit of a gap, and I believe it's because the brim in my original pattern was slightly too big. And so what I've done, as you'll see, is essentially take it apart and use my razor to make a cut, wrap it where it needed to go, press it down, and then slice off a little more where I would like it to be able to meet. And as you can see, it will lay flat. All you have to do now is apply contact cement to that seam. Next, we're going to put the top onto the hat and test it. And then what we're going to do is open our can of contact cement again. And we're going to apply contact cement to both sides of the seam we just created in the brim and stick that together. Now, contact cement takes a little while longer to set up, so I will go back to this and just make sure that my seam matches evenly. And then I'm going to go ahead and apply contact cement to the brim of the hat, apologies, to the top portion of the stovepipe part of the hat, and to the bottom side of the top hat. Next, I'm going to take the top of the top hat and place it on top of the stovepipe. I have slightly beveled the edge a little at a 45-degree angle so that it will fit down in just a little bit better. And what I do is I go and I press along using my thumb and my forefingers and just kind of make sure that everything meets appropriately. Then we're going to fill the seams and wait for that to dry. So I've used liquid nails, however I think Quick Seal may be actually better. Found that this product it kind of absorbed into the material a little bit more than what I wanted. Although it was easy to spread and smooth with my fingers, water-based, and so any areas that I happen to get a little extra on, I just use a paper towel and a little bit of water to kind of smooth that out. There's the puppy. She's a Yorkie and her name is Toffee, and she's really sweet. She's about 13 weeks old. So I'm just letting this clip play where I'm kind of cleaning up so that you can see her. I come back and I'm ready to use the heat gun to wrap it around the rolling pin. So what I like to do is use the heat gun, and I'm using the rolling pin to form around. And I heat that up, and as it's cooling, I continue to hold it pressed against the rolling pin, and this helps me get the particular curl that I would like. Then I'm going to ball up aluminum foil and use a heat gun to create texture, and you can do this either by heating up the tin foil, which I find can be kind of rough on your hands, or heating up the foam seems to be the best use of the energy, and it also seals the EVA foam so that it is prepared to take the paint that I will apply in the next steps. And what I'm doing is creating a leather-like texture by creating this impression using the aluminum foil all over every surface virtually of the hat. So you'll see me turning it around and making sure that I've hit all the areas. And I even turn the ball over, use different areas because it creates different textures. Next, we'll sand it with a Dremel tool, and what I do is I just basically go over all of my seams. I clean up the inside of the hat so that it's nicer to wear. It looks a lot better. I clean up all the edges of the brim on the top and the bottom, and then I sculpt a little bit with the top of the top hat. Then I go ahead and paint it with a gold acrylic paint. And I'm using dry brushing techniques on virtually every part of this, so I am just gonna speed through these areas so that you can kind of get the general gist of what I'm doing. However, I'm not gonna waste massive amounts of time showing you how I painted this. I will tell you that acrylic paints tend to crack if being used regularly. Therefore, it is really great to use the Cosplay paints that they have available at Hobby Lobby. This FX paint is flexible and it is acrylic based, so you can water it down, although I don't necessarily know that I recommend it because that may affect the way that it's intended to be used. And so what I'm doing is I'm really trying to knock back a lot of that brassy gold look. I wanted it to be in the cracks and the impressions that I had created to look like leather, but I do not want it to be completely gold. So next we're going to use the crocodile on some extra pieces of foam that I have in order to be able to create rivets. So you see me creating these little circles, and you can use a hole punch as well. So now I am going to take those and apply it to the top of the hat and to the bottom of the hat, and I'm using super glue here in order to adhere them. Oh look, I have a visitor. This is Eric, and he is sharing with me the Maypop, as it's called. It is a native passion fruit to North America, and he is cutting it open to show me the seeds, and I guess it has a fairly sweet flavor. I watched a video about the flavor profile of these fruits, and I may plant one. The passion flowers are also really pretty, so I wanted to share that with you. Once that's all completed, then we move on to paint it with a black acrylic. This is a gloss acrylic, but again, I really kind of wanted to knock it back some, and I'm not too concerned about cracking. I think that that'll add kind of to the charm of the piece that I've created. If there is any cracking, I'm okay with that. Some of you may not be, but I do go back in and paint it with more flexible metallic black paint. Again, this paint is really awesome, and I would highly recommend it for your cosplay builds. This one kind of has like a little bit of like silver mica, maybe like gold mica to it. It's pretty cool. When I've completed painting everything, then it's time to apply the gold rub and buff. And this is one of my favorite steps because I get to play. I put my gloves on and squeeze a little bit of rub and buff out, and then I just kind of rub it between my fingers, and I hit all the highlights in any areas that I want to accent or embellish. I'm really excited with how this turned out, and you see me turning it over and buffing it with my finger. And here's the finished product, and I created this for my daughter because she wanted to be a plague doctor. And so this is the costume and how it looks with the plague doctor mask and staff that I created. So I hope that you guys enjoy this content. I'd love to be able to hear your comments and what you think of this. If you'd like to see more content like this in the future, happy Halloween and happy arting.